Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. My name is Kevin and this is my wife Sarah. And this is week number 5 of our Cornish Cross versus Freedom Ranger comparison series.
In today's video, we're going to do all the normal things. We're going to weigh the feed, we're going to weigh the chickens and do the nerdy comparison math stuff. But we're also going to address a couple questions that we have received from you guys over the course of the last couple of videos. One of the questions is concerning the amount of mess that they leave on the ground in between every day when we move them. And the other one has to do with the feathers, the amount of feathers that each type of chicken has. So let's just get started.
All right, so let's start by looking at the spots where the chicken tractors were yesterday. Over here is where the Freedom Rangers were yesterday, and over here is where the Cornish Cross were yesterday. When you look at the two spots, the first thing that I notice is that obviously both breeds like to spend most of their day near the feeder, because this is the end where the feeder was yesterday, and that's definitely where most of the poop is. I mean, there's a fair amount down by where the water end was as well, but the majority on both of them is near the feeder. To be honest, I would say there's no real difference between the two. I think they're both making about the same amount of mess. The comment that we've been getting a lot on the videos is that, you know, the Freedom Rangers are a lot cleaner bird, or that they're going to make a lot less mess than the Cornish Cross. And I would just say my observation is that they seem to be the same.
So let's start comparing the Cornish Cross and the Freedom Ranger as far as the feathers go. And let's start with the belly, because that's what most people see when they see the bald spot on the Cornish Cross. But you can see on the Freedom Ranger, they also do have a bald spot, although maybe not quite as large.
Right. I do think that on the Cornish, it's a little easier to see the skin because of the white feathers. I do think there's less feathers on the Cornish, but I think it's also easier to see the skin because of the white feathers. Both of them definitely have some baldness on their breast area.
Now let's look underneath the wing, because this is another area that is kind of bald. You can see on the Cornish that there's not a lot of feathers here and kind of in the thigh area, but also on the Freedom Ranger, it really is
just about the same.
Just about the same.
Now, one thing we also need to keep in mind is that these chickens are only 5 weeks old. If we were raising like a heritage breed, you know, egg-laying chicken, at 5 weeks old, they would still be tiny and they wouldn't have many feathers either. So sometimes it can be kind of deceiving because these guys are big. You tend to think that they're more mature, but they're still only 5 weeks old. So
right.
You have to keep that in mind when you're comparing them to like an older laying hen.
So at this point, I would say that the Freedom Rangers have more feathers, but not a whole lot more. And we'll see, we can do another comparison right at the end.
Right.
To see if there's a whole lot of difference.
Right. Yeah, I would say these guys have a few less, but it's not dramatic.
Right. Well, we're going to start weighing the chickens, but before we do that, I just want to review a couple of things. We ordered 25 Cornish Cross and 25 Freedom Rangers. However, we've had 3 of the Cornish Cross die, none of the Freedom Rangers. So 22 Cornish Cross and 25 Freedom Rangers. When we do all of our calculations, we'll take that into consideration. Also, when we order meat chickens, we always order all males, and we did that when we ordered the Cornish Cross as usual. However, when we were ordering the Freedom Ranger, we forgot to tell them males only, so we do have a mixture of male and female. Now, we normally order all male because they grow bigger and faster. So when we do the weighing, we will weigh 5 of the Cornish Cross as usual, but we will pick out 5 of the Freedom Ranger males. Now they're getting old enough that we can tell the difference between male and female, so we will only be weighing the Freedom Ranger males. Let's get started weighing. This is a Freedom Ranger number 1. £2, 2.62 pounds. Number 2. 2.59 pounds. Number 3. £2.79. Number 4. £2.89. And number 5. £2.96.
Okay, let's start with the Cornish Cross. Number 1. $3.55. Number 2. $3.52. Number 3. $4.24. Number 4. $3.83. Number 5. $3.94. All right, we've got all of our raw numbers. As usual, we're gonna head inside and do all of our nerdy chicken math for the week, and then we'll come back out and we'll tell you guys everything that has happened this week. Now, one thing, this week we just weighed the feed off of camera. We didn't figure you guys needed to see me step on the scale, especially after my parents were here, and let's just say the scale needed a little more of a break this week.
You didn't tell them how much you ate anyway.
Oh yeah, that's true. But let's just say my mom brought cookies, and that didn't help matters.
And burritos.
And burritos, so that didn't help matters. So, we're gonna go inside, we're gonna do all of our nerdy chicken math, and we'll be back to let you know how this week ends up. All right, so we're back out. We did all of our chicken math for the week, and we've got a final assessment for the week.
Yes, so starting with the Freedom Rangers. Their average weight this week was 2.77 pounds per bird. So far, the feed that they've consumed since the day they arrived is 6.8 pounds per bird. This week, from last week to this week, they averaged a weight gain of 1.01 pounds. Their feed conversion currently is 2.45 pounds, which means they have to consume 2.45 pounds of feed to gain 1 pound of body weight. And their total feed consumed from the time, like all the birds together, from the time they came on the homestead, they've consumed 170.1 pounds of feed.
All right, so the Cornish Cross. This week, the average weight is 3.81 pounds. So, almost a pound more than the Freedom Rangers. Feed for this week, or feed total, since we got them, is averaging 7.2 pounds per bird. Their weekly gain this week is 1.21 pounds. And their feed conversion as of today is 1.89 pounds total. So again, like Sarah said, they have to eat 1.89 pounds of feed to gain 1 pound of body weight. Their total feed consumed since we got them is 160.1 pounds. But this week I did something a little different. I adjusted that, assuming that we hadn't lost any, so that it would be comparable to the Freedom Rangers. If we still had 25 Cornish Cross, they'd be at 181 pounds, which is about 10 pounds more than the Freedom Rangers. So now let's compare the two just a little bit and see where we're at for the week. All right, so let's compare the Freedom Rangers to the Cornish Cross a little more in depth for this week. Again, the Cornish weighed 3.81 this week, the Freedom Rangers 2.77. So the Cornish are, you know, a little more than a pound ahead of the Freedom Rangers. But I have to admit, the Freedom Rangers really kind of made me impressed this week. They gained a little over a pound. They gained 1.01 and the Cornish gained 1.21. So So the Freedom Rangers gained almost as much this week as the Cornish. Now, I mean, the Cornish are still pulling ahead, but not as much as they were in the past few weeks. So, I mean, there is something to be said for that. We'll see how that plays out again in another week. So, as far as feed conversion goes, I have to say that it looks like the Cornish Cross are just really ahead of the Freedom Rangers. Even though the Freedom Rangers got a little bit better this week because they gained more weight this week, the Cornish Cross are at 1.89, the Freedom Rangers are at 2.45, which is a half-pound difference, which means for every pound that they gain, the Cornish Cross need to eat a half-pound less of feed. That's pretty significant when you're totaling up what your cost per bird or cost per pound of meat is going to be at the end, which really is an important factor when you're trying to raise all of your own food on your homestead. Now, you know, taste is going to be important as well, but at the end of the day, if they end up tasting about the same, but one costs significantly less to raise, you guys can decide. I don't want to give you my opinion at this point. I may have right there, but you guys need to decide that for yourselves.
So you guys, I hope that you are enjoying this comparison series as much as we are. It's been a real joy to be raising both of these kinds and to not only learn ourselves, but to bring this information out to the homesteading community. If there are things that you would like addressed or would like to see something a little bit closer, please let us know. We can go ahead and do that in one of the upcoming weeks. We'd love to provide you with all the information that we possibly can.
So if you're not a subscriber of our channel yet, I sure hope that you'll hit that subscribe button before you leave today. If you're one of our traditionalists who comes back 5 days a week, we sure do appreciate you. If you know someone who would enjoy this video or this comparison that we're doing, we hope that you'll share this on all of your social media. And until next time, you guys, thanks so much for stopping by the homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.